Hello and welcome. So this video is to set up both the Power BI data analytics training for Air Force Reserve Command and for the 340th on how I'm pulling data and managing it, uh, working through it, cleaning it, and making it available for others. But to get started, first we need to kind of talk about setup of data. And the reason we need to talk about setup of data is because the tools that we're going to be using, Power BI and Excel, generally use the information in such a way that has to be pulled the same way. It reaches out to the same data files. It reaches out to the same consistent methods over and over. So before we get into the data, before we get into the structure and how we pull things and how we look at stuff, first we need data, but we need to have a plan for that data. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you what I do, because in FM, I don't have access to a SQL server or a SQL database other than Excel, or sorry, not Excel, Access, which doesn't have the capabilities of a true SQL database that's needed. So instead, what I do is I pull the data from different sources and I put it into a data file. Let me open that up and let you guys see what that data file looks like. All right, so this is the data file that I have. At the top, I have it sorted by date modified, and you can see all the different sets of information that I pulled. I pulled this information this morning, and then I have all sorts of other data files that I've pulled over time. Now, my data file simply becomes my storage place anytime I'm pulling data that I need to work and send out, but not all of that goes into my daily data gathering. So the reports that I pull come from PBAS, come from the AFAOC status of funds, comes from a couple different sources. I also pull stuff from DTS. And again, the more data you can pull in, the more you can kind of get it set up. But with this, I also have what I call lookup files. And I have it labeled here as my ZLOOKUPs. These are all my tables that I'm going to use. A lot of these come from the Air Force's data tables for FM, but this is anywhere where I would see a data table. Now, the difference between a data table and a file is your data tables are, for the most part, not going to change. They should be consistent. This would be like naming RCCCs or naming ESP codes. These are naming conventions. These are kind of what you would look at for VLOOKUPs, if you're familiar with those. But that way I have one gathering place for all of those files that I can update. Then if you can see, I've got one for dates. I've got one for EECs, ranks, has codes. Not, for example, you may not use all the RCCCs available. And if you use the one from the DQS, the FM database, you're going to get a massive file of thousands, hundreds of thousands of RCCCs. Same with EECs. So what I do is I pare it down to the ones I am going to use or the ones I use frequently, and I stick it out here as a data table. So those are consistent. Then I have my data files, which I'm pulling and are going to update on a frequent basis. So I pull those. So knowing how that data is gathered in is going to kind of set the foundation for us to look at which files I'm pulling and when, and then how to use those. So one thing I want to keep in mind or kind of show you is I have it separated out. I have two O bands under my FM shop. So I pull those data separately. A lot of the reports will pull the data together. You can combine the data, but I'm going to talk through in the next video why that is not a good idea right now. That might change in the future, but as of right now, you want to pull O-bands separately. All right, see you in the next video.